Good morning and welcome again to our Wednesday morning class. These Wednesdays come around pretty fast, so here we are again. As time is moving us forward. I want to welcome all of you that are joining us live this morning, and also to you that will be watching us later. We want to welcome you to today's class. A little different subject today, but I hope that you will enjoy our subject, which is the power of color. And we've been planning to do this for a long time about the remodeling of our center here and what colors we kind of ended up with and kind of how does that affect us as an environment for all of us. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. First of all, we'll begin with a little reading this morning to kind of get everybody together and online. And so if you could be comfortable in the space in which you're occupying at this time, I will be talking about or giving you a reading on I am always comfortable in the midst of the day's pressures and challenges. Again, I'm always comfortable in the midst of the day's pressures and challenges. Taking in a deep breath, let us go into the silence of the potential of our heart. And from this silence, we give you these words to contemplate. My life is often filled with schedules and obligations that can cause me to feel anxious and stressed. When I feel overwhelmed, I take time to realize that what I'm really feeling is the energy of the world around me. I can always choose to stay comfortable in the midst of pressure. I know without question that there is one presence, one power active in the world and in my life. When I'm feeling out of alignment with that truth, I center myself in the energy of my heart and find the comfort of spirit that is always present. I feel that comfort radiating in every cell of my body, every thought in my mind. I am a perfect expression of the presence of the divine. And our scripture today is, it is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Deuteronomy 31:8. So we're going to sound our awakening bell. That's what this is called, is an awakening bell. And through this frequency and sound, we send the intention out to awaken your inner heart, your inner spirit, your inner soul. Let's take another deep breath. Exhale. Well, I've always been very attracted to color. As some of you know who know me, I sometimes wear colors that maybe other people would not feel comfortable, but I do. Always have been attracted to color. And colors make us feel a certain way. So as we go through today's class, I want you to be aware of the color that is around you. You that are here with me in person, we will go through the colors of this center. You that are in your home or wherever you are listening to us, I want you to become aware of the colors that's around you. Even the colors that you're wearing today. Why are you wearing that color? We often really don't stop and think about what colors we pick out every day to wear. We just seem to do it. But I'm always interested in the why. Why do we pick certain colors to wear? It may not be in the forefront of our mind consciously, but life is always speaking to us. It's always trying to communicate with us and tell us what it is that we need in our life to be empowered and to stay centered in that place of authenticity and reality of who and where we are. The first covenant that was made in the Bible was a color covenant. It was called the Rainbow Covenant in Genesis. And some of you might remember the old story about Noah and the ark, that after all that was over, God made a covenant with mankind by putting a rainbow in the sky. And if you stop and think how important the rainbow has become with many, many groups of people who's taken that on as a symbol of colors that go together, and they tend to relate to each other if we went through the spectrum of color. If you take a prism, for instance, and run light through the prism, within the prism are different vibrations or frequencies. And when you go to the most dense and slow frequency, that light is going to take on the color of red for you. If you raise that frequency just a little more, that orange takes on the color of orange. And then we go to yellow or gold, and then we go up to green, and we go to blue, and then we go to purple and indigo, and then we end up at the crown, which is where white shows up. And many of you will remember in the art and the pictures of the so-called saints, there was often white lights around their head called halos that was around them. So the artists of old somehow had an ability to tap into the color spectrum that was around the people that they were painting. And that's important because we've learned in modern time that we all do carry energy fields around us that show up as different color. And we call those the chakras. They all represent a color. And also the aura itself. You that have Kirlian photography taken, and you can see your energy field, you'll see many different colors, and often people will translate those colors to tell you something about yourself and where you are in life and what's going on, where you've been, and even maybe where you need to go. So color is a very important thing to all of us, and we want to talk about the power of color. So before I begin, I'm going to go ahead and do the colors there at the center. Now, some of you, I realize, are in other states and other places, but you can still take these colors that we're going to talk about in the first part of this talk as part of the colors that's probably around or in your life in some way. So colors are one of the most beautiful and also one of the most underappreciated aspects of the physical realm. We are surrounded by colors, and how often we do notice the numerous subtleties in the myriad shades. Interesting word, shades, there. In the Bible, when it says that God created us, when they created us in the image and likeness, the word there for likeness is shade. So you could kind of translate that God made us into the same shade that God was. Or we can say God created us at the same frequency that God is. And when you put this together, you have I am that I am. Get it? It's not just I am, it's I am that I am. So it's speaking of source, and source extending itself as its individualized expression. That is that which you authentically are, and that's where we share with each other, is in this particular frequency of sameness and a likeness that many of us call many different things. It's called in the East the Atman. It's called mostly in the West the Christ presence or consciousness. There's many words for it, but it's that aspect of where we all share and all that we are one. I know the ego wants to take that and mistranslate it into we want to be one in race. We want to be one in gender. We want to be one in all these different aspects and labels of the world. And we spend a lot of our time shadow boxing, trying to attain that with no success at all. So it's not that we're not one and trying to become one, it's that we are one. And where we are one is at the level of creation. We are one. I am that I am. Now it happens to be that the color that starts out in the Bible is found in the word Adam, or transliterated Adam. And if you study this, you'll find out it means red man. It's actually the pottage that they made there. And they talk about the pottage. It was a red lentil. And also, Adam means the blood of the Lord. So here again, we see where blood does play an important part. Not the way religion has used to connect blood to suffering and crucifixions and sacrifices, but blood in the fact that blood carries the life that we all share. Now, living's different. The way people live is totally different from one another. Living is based upon the choices that you make and the way you learn about who you are and the world around you. And we're very different the way we live. Nobody always lives the way we live. And therefore, sometimes that just magnifies the agenda of the ego that we are separate. But if we learn to go deeper than this realm of what we call Maya or illusion of separation, we begin to realize that we're all one. Oftentimes as I stand up before a group and speak or that I teach, I often wonder if people seeing me only as David, this human body, this 6'4" body, and realizing that therefore all the labels that make up that body makes up who I am. So we could say all kinds of things like, am I a straight man? Am I a heterosexual man? Am I a conservative? Am I liberal? All these different things that are the extremities that are dividing us. But if you could see everyone that comes before you, whether it's a teacher, a speaker, or whatever, and realize that what stands before you is a spiritual person before they become labeled in the sense of the world's labels and perceptions of them. So I try to always realize that however people is perceiving me and seeing me as a body identity is not the authentic me. The true me is deeper than that and beyond that. And I always encourage people to not only know me, but to know each other and to know yourself at that deeper level of where we all are joined together to become one united field and spirit. So the reason I'm saying all of that is to say that as spirit begins to come into matter and into the biology and the physical world, it takes on a vibration. And that vibration then gives a color. And if we get ourselves open to seeing colors around us, we really can have a whole new level of communication that we've never had before. Spiritually, color can impact both information, as in aura colors, and energy, as in healing. The aura is the spiritual energy field surrounding living beings, which is visible to the physicality of one's energy self. So let's look at some of the colors and how they kind of happened here. When we first started this remodeling, we decided to get a little committee together that was going to decorate and do colors. And I can't say that that went that smooth because we all had different tastes and ideas about colors and what we liked. And anyway, that sort of just fell away, and all of a sudden we just begin to let colors find us. And that's how all these colors have shown up in the Heart Light Spiritual Center. Really, they just showed up. It wasn't overthinking, analyzing. It wasn't because I like this and you don't like that, or you like this and I don't like that. But it kind of transcended all of that as colors just begin to show up. So where I'm sitting now is our chapel, we call it, for Heart Light Spiritual Center, our main meeting place. And the walls in this room are aquamarine I call it. Aquamarine is a mixture of blue and gray. I'm sorry, blue and green. So we're going to have to look at those two colors and how they mix together. These colors, I see them a lot because I think people relate to this color because it's a very calming color. And it is a very powerful color in that way, which gives us a sense of being refreshed and uplifted. And these colors enhance creativity, inspiration, calms the mind, and helps to balance our emotions. Now, those are all wonderful spiritual attributes that we want to experience when we come together and allow ourselves to enter into a time that we move out of the world and the hustle and bustle of the world, and we come for a time of refreshing ourselves and restoring ourselves. And it's important that we be in that environment of these colors coming together. So if we look at the green in this color, and there's a lot of green here at this center. In fact, the entire exterior of both the chapel and our building next door that we use are green. So let's talk about the color green. It's a powerful color. First of all, you that know about chakras know that green is the color of the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is the balancing position between 3 higher chakras and 3 lower chakras. So it certainly is a place in which the lower and the higher come together to balance themselves. We can say earth and heaven come together at that place, is in the heart, and we see that as the color green. So green means what? Growth. Now, who's not always trying to grow? We're all growing. We're all here on this earth as students of this planet. We like to call Earth God School 101. This is certainly a place to learn about a lot of things, is here in the earth at this time. So therefore, I feel for people who have become trapped into religions and philosophies and theories that are kind of frozen. In other words, they're not growth in them. And that's the thing about a lot of religious dogma and doctrines, is most of that is attained on what it was believed hundreds and maybe thousands of years ago, and just been passed down from one generation to another generation without any way reinterpreting into present time and present truth. And that's an important thing. I think we all need to realize we need to know the God of our time. We often learn about the God of other people's time, Buddha's time, the Old Testament patriarchs and time. And then we go into all kinds of what I call worship in retrospect into the God of that time. But where's the God of your time? Where's the God of 2020? What is it that we're supposed to be seeing by what's going on in the world today with that idea of 2020? All right? And how do you see it? How do you see it not first as just solid matter, but how do you see what makes up the matter? How do you see it as energy becomes molecules, and through that molecule comes the very light that the divine is? The divine is light. You know, that's one of the first things in the Bible that come along. In the beginning, there was light. Light. And God said, let there be light. One of the first things that happened. So it's important that we understand and realize that light is the way that the soul can speak to us by using the spectrum of different vibrations or frequencies to give its message through the information of light. It means growth, okay? It also means new beginning. And here we are at many new beginnings that's going on in our individual lives, our collective lives, the community here at Heartlight, and to the world at large. We are in a place of rebirthing and new beginnings. The color green also means flourishing, flourishing. In this time that you and I live, actually there is a place for us to flourish and to grow and have new beginnings, all in the color and vibration of green. It means restorative, restoration. That means that what has been taken from us in the past, traumas, disappointments, etc., can be energy that is restored back into our energy bank. In other words, we can have more energy to create and manifest by letting go of old stuck patterns of energy that are in our past. And we can actually say that is a way of undoing our karma. It means harvest, harvest. I like that, harvest. So in the spring, things start getting green again, and things start coming up, and things start coming into fruition. And not for the first time, but many things come in a cycle over and over again because of the fact of where the sun is to the earth and how that creates a certain temperature or frequency or an environment that these colors then begin to relate to and begin to vibrate to. And we start seeing the green leaves, the green grass, the green lawns, the green fields, and everything that tells us that we're in a place of growth, new beginnings, flourishing, and restoration, and the harvest is here. It also means prosperity. So we think of money as bills that are green, so we can take that. Why? Why did they make them green? I don't know if they know why they made them green, but they made them green because it has to do with prosperity and finance and the distribution of green energy with one another. So this is a powerful color, and I don't know that everybody in the beginning was for the green on the outside, but I think now people, after seeing it all, I've heard nothing but good about the green that is on the exterior. And the green that is also a part of the color that we're talking about in here. All right, let's look at some of the other. The carpet that is in here happens to be what I call maybe a raisin, which is a purplish color. So let's look at this purple that we have for this time. I think a lot of us would like to change that, but who knows? Maybe we need the vibration, the frequency of purple in this present state. It means the fear of God, reverence or awe of the divine. Now, we've been through this fear thing over and over and over, how they have translated this word fear and attached it to God. It just says in the Bible, in the literal, fear God. Fear God. But in breaking that word down, and you will see that it means to reverence God, not to be afraid of God. Purple is also one of the higher colors of our chakra, and has to do with our third eye of enlightenment, and this part of our intelligence, our human intelligence, that a spiritual intelligence has been planted into that. And I teach that the spiritual intelligence that's planted in the human brain is centered and located in the pineal gland. So the pineal gland is an interesting, fascinating, little tiny gland that's in the shape of a pine cone that's in the center of the midbrain, that's in your physical. But it has a spiritual significance to it. And one of the things that it has is to receive what comes through the heart. Now, green. Let's go back to the green. So the green is the heart, and the heart is a portal. It's a vibrational portal that shows up green, that when opened, it opens to photon data energy that is coming beyond third, fourth dimension. So if the fifth dimension and beyond wants to speak to us and give us data, information, direction, guidance of any kind, it has to find a way to get through the brain. The brain has learned to be the guard of the house, And it doesn't want to accept things that it hasn't already registered in its memory bank. So if I say things that's already in my brain agrees with it, and like kind of accepts like. The thing is that some of the times I've put in my brain are not a part of my inner truth. And therefore, I have to realize that we have to not let the brain guard the house. All of our thoughts, which become our feelings and emotions, must not just start in the brain, because there is that which is trying to come through the brain, which I call the mind. The mind. People think the brain and the mind are the same thing. No, you have a mind of your own that's in the brain. The brain isn't much of a mind of your own, because your brain is mostly what you've been taught outside of yourself. And then people who agree with your brain, we join together and we make religions, and we make different sects, and we make all kinds of different little groups because we all agree with what the brain has downloaded into itself. But when we allow the mind to show up, and the mind is something different. It's not local. It's not in time and space, but it's something that is much broader and greater than that 3-pound organ called the brain in your head. So creation did a very brilliant thing and planted inside that brain this little gland called the pineal gland. And that pineal gland has on the tip of it an ability to vibrate itself. And when it is allowed to vibrate itself, it's like an antenna. The antenna that's in your television, or your antenna that's in your electronics. Remember in the old days we had rabbit ears, and we had antennas on our house. And that was to catch the waves that were interpreted as pictures that we'd see on the screen. So there is a great amount of new information that's trying to break through to us, that's going to teach us how to walk through this time of breakdown that we're going through, and chaos and crises. There is absolutely a divine order in this. The scripture says that God has ordered your steps. So rather than just floundering out here and trying this and see if that works and listening to everybody, maybe we should just be still and know that I am presence that's in us, in that consciousness. And that consciousness will come to us in dreams, meditation, epiphanies, so many ways it's going to show up. You can't really know where it's going and how it's going to show up, because it's going to show up more in the uncertainty of your potential than in that trained part of the brain that you've downloaded into your BS systems or belief systems. So this is a very important time that we be connected to these little bundles of knowledge and information that are made of light called photons. And they hold a lot of the answers that you're all asking every day. Why me? Why this? How'd this happen? Where do I go from here? That's the question that's in everybody on this planet, I'm sure, at this time. And then what we do is we go back and plug into old systems that's already been, that do not fit the present truth of our time. And that's what we have to do. Take the time to center. Take your time to meditate and connect with that place that you can calm the brain down as much as you can to make space. So what I'm getting to you here, this data has to come in through a portal, and that portal is the heart. So it comes in through the green heart, okay? and then the green information at the green heart shoots up all the way to the intuitive part, the eye of enlightenment, or the purple. So now you have the green and the purple working beautifully together. Again, the green is the portal that brings in information, instruction, knowledge from the higher fifth dimension. And by the way, I believe with all my heart that if there's anything to this idea in the Bible, that Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you shall be also, is fifth dimension. He went totally out of our sight of third dimension space and time and went to the fifth dimension, where he works with us from fifth dimension as the Christ consciousness. But that has all been put within us also. So we all have a little bit of the fifth dimension in our third dimension bodies and the world that we live in today, and the more that we connect to that. So in this room is this green, blue, this aquamarine color, and also there is this purple. So we are connecting again with the heart chakra. The blue and the green is the throat chakra, which is speaking your truth, giving what coming through the heart expression through you, not from you. And this is where you, if you're a speaker or a teacher, I experience this a lot, and I'm blessed and humbled by it, but my ability to just open my mouth and let it all flow through me. Now, when I get into from me, that's a whole different level than being a channel for things and information to come through you. So I try to connect my heart green with my throat. Okay, I'm clearing myself to become a clear vessel for spirit from fifth dimension to speak through me, oftentimes using third dimensional symbolism. See how it all comes together, and that's what's happening as we're in this overlap of these two worlds. The one that is dying out and the one that is birthing are kind of overlapping themselves. And you and I have incarnated for this time to help bridge that and to help people who are in the old and the new. 1 foot in the old, 1 foot in the new. Throughout your day, you've got 1 foot in the old. And when you get in the old, then you get discouraged and anxious and question everything and whatever. Then when you're over here and you got your foot in the new, then you begin to get that feeling that it's going to be okay. You begin to feel inspired. You begin to feel something that is beyond what you are seeing and perceiving through the senses. And that's kind of the challenge of all of us right now, is to balance between these things. So again, we have the green, the heart portal, information coming fifth dimension into the heart, shooting up through the throat and also into the indigo or the purple of the eye of enlightenment, which we should reverence. We should reverence and at times be in absolute awe at some of the thoughts and ideas that come to us we would have never thought. And I know you all had that happen, like, wow, that was good. Where'd that come from? It just showed up. And it did it because it found these energy channels in which to finally hit the pineal gland. Now, when it comes into the pineal gland does a lot of wonderful things. We could talk on it for a long time. But one of the things the pineal gland does is it changes light photons, fifth dimension, to third dimensional chemical patterns in which they create these neurons, and we get what, how do I say this? We get what the fifth dimension is saying to us, translated by the pineal gland into our sensory. And that's when we get it. That's when we get it. So there is a process between taking light, and that's one of the things that the pineal gland does, is melatonin. It makes a chemical called melatonin, which has to do with cycles of awake and sleep. Okay? Well, take that to a spiritual level, and that which has been asleep is waking up. You know. So this has a smaller picture, has a bigger picture. has a microcosm, has a macrocosm. And what is going on with us is going on in the entire universe to those that are opening themselves up. So for you that come here and attend, just be aware of this environment, of these beautifully colored walls that hold the blue and the green, which is the throat chakra, and the heart chakra, which, by the way, is coming together to create a new chakra called the higher heart chakra, which many people have seen it as pink. And we may talk about in just a minute what that actually means. So what's going on around us in our energy fields is just fascinating, but we tend to edit that out and have no idea, because what takes over is what the sensory perception tells us that's happening. But we really need to listen to the mind, the Christ consciousness. Mind is always consciousness. Most people don't even act or react that way, but they tend to act according to the way they have been programmed to act in that way. All right, let's look. Our doors on both the chapel and the house next door is red. Red. Let's talk about red. Red is our first chakra, of course. It is the root chakra. It is the color of our earth is red, our Mother Earth. And it's considered by many cultures as the luckiest of all colors. Now, I'm not real comfortable always with the word lucky. I don't know that I believe in luck. I think that everything has a purpose. I think it all is not just a luck thing that happened, but I think it's divine synchronicity that takes place. I tend to go that direction. Even if you won the lottery, I'm not sure that's just luck. I think if you would win that, it would be almost destined to win it in some way. So let's look at red. Now in China, in the Orient, red is great because it is seen as bringing luck. Understanding is what I was taught many years ago when the Bible speaks of the 11 manifestations of the Spirit of God in Isaiah, I believe the 11th chapter. The first thing that gives is understanding, which is the color red. Now, when you associate the root chakra with the color red, you're dealing with your bloodline. That's what the blood represents here. It is your ancestry. It is the place in which you are born into a tribe, a family of people, and you share their DNA and you share their culture and you share their environment is in that first chakra. And sometimes it's very good to have understanding. A lot of people don't. For instance, what I've found in 20 years of doing this work, I found out how many times people come and I work on them for their issues, and I get to an issue that nothing happens, did not happen. And what I found out after years of doing that is it wasn't their stuff. So if I'm working on you and your stuff, we can have an effect. But if you're carrying ancestral stuff, for instance, stuff from the past that isn't yours, but because you shared DNA, it was able to show up in you for the purpose of healing and balance. And that's a very important part of people that are doing spiritual healing and working with people in any modality whatsoever, is that you must always realize that you are facilitating what is happening between you and the client by being able to discern this. And a great way to discern that is to translate the energy from vibration and frequency into color in some way. So if a person has an issue physically, mentally, or emotionally that you find out isn't coming from them, but it came from somewhere else to them, okay, you need to understand that. You need to understand that. And I've tried to teach all of our practitioners, try to understand something that is not balancing. In our case, it's a tuning fork. If the tuning fork stops and will not move, if it will not stop going around counterclockwise or clockwise, you've got to realize most likely that isn't coming from them. They're not the origin of it, but it's something in their ancestry, or it can be in their karmic record. It could be something of the past that is shown up in them. And you have to look at that very differently. So, red also represents passion. Passion. The Bible uses fire, and I guess we associate fire with red most of the time. But fire, like I indeed baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. God is a consuming fire. My ministers are flames of fire. Moses saw the I am God in the burning bush of fire. I mean, fire is everywhere, and it is about meeting things in the passion of things. And I think that's very important. It also represents a place that burns out the dross, burns out what is no longer serving us for the highest good, is in the power of the color red. On the psychological level, it means energy, passion, and sensuality. Sensuality. Of course, there's white throughout the center. White is always a word for light, white light. It is a certain form of the purity of light, and white represents the presence of all color, all color. It is associated with purity, innocence, goodness, and simplicity. We could certainly use that in our life at this time. Just a little bit of simplicity. White gemstones help create new beginnings, remove preconceived notions, to see innocence in others, clear emotional clutter, to silence the inner critic. I like that. To silence the inner critic. So white is a very important aspect of the color scheme of any place whatsoever. Next door in the interior, there are two colors that make up most of the rooms, and that is, first of all, a cream or light beige, ivory, and also the gold. So let's talk about the cream of the crop. How about that? The cream of the crop. We want to attract here the cream of the crop. We want those to be attracted to us who are able to share on this journey that we're all taking, that we can be more like-minded, maybe not in everything, but in enough to join us together at a deeper level of process and awakening and enlightenment that's taking place in all of us. So I've put out the intent, bring us the cream of the crop here. It means neutral, calm, relaxing, quiet, or pleasantness. Pleasantness, neutral, calm. So that is what is in the environment of the center, next part of the center that's next door, is an ability to give people to find a neutral place. Because when we tend to come into an environment, we bring in the experience of where we've come from. You know, if we've been angry, we tend to bring that anger with us. If we've been sad or depressed, we try to bring that in. But in the fact of entering into an environment that is more neutral is a reset for you. You're able to come to that neutral place that is in you. We have taught in energy work these three channels of the Ida, Pingala, and the Sushumna. And those are big words, but all they mean is the neutral It means the positive and the negative, the yin and the yang. But it's that neutral center that makes all the difference in bringing forth how the energy spins into different functions, different vibrations and frequency, and therefore is seen from different colors. So I like this idea. We tried a much different color before we came to this kind of cream color, and it just did not work. It just did not work. It wasn't that it wasn't a pretty color, just didn't work, because that's not what the spiritual intelligence was trying to do to create that space. And of course, the minute we put this color that we have now, we had an alignment with it. It felt exactly the way that it wanted us to be felt in that way. So this kind of cream, beige, ivory color, which is very neutral, is a very important time to always remind us, even at an unconscious level, to just go into balanced state without judging anything right or wrong, good or bad, this or that. Most of the outside ramps and the porches is the color gray. A lot of people don't like gray because they think it's a boring color. But it's a very powerful color when you realize it's the integration of black and white, two very extremes. Now, the black color is the absence of all color, and white is the presence of all color. But put together, it gives us the gray areas of life. Now, I've always felt I lived and walked in the gray areas of life. I never was comfortable being this or that. I've spent my life trying to define where I am between the extremities that people have connected themselves to as being all this or all that. And if you're all this, you can't be all anything of that. So I kind of felt like I've always walked in what I call this gap between, this space between. And I think that is very important, that as we walk on these colors and we see these colors, that we realize that we are in a place of transition between two things. It reminds us you're in process, you're transitioning, you're transforming, and that the answer probably is not in the extremes of this or that, but it's somewhere between, in the middle of that. So gray's become a very popular color today in most homes, kitchens. A lot of people have gray color. And I think gray here is a very spiritual part of our color scheme here. It means power, gray power. You know, you have black power, white power, gray power. Maybe gray power represents people who are mature. We think of gray hair and people turning gray, and in the West, we don't really see that in a more positive way. But if we look at it in a spiritual way, it could mean that we've been around long enough to have some wisdom and experience, that we have a contribution. And I've really tried to encourage. We have an older group here of people, and I don't want people to think it's all winding down, I can't do anything, I'm no use. No, that's not at all. You need to find your gray power. And it also means mystery. I like that, the mystery of what's between here and this and that. It means strength, and it means elegance. I like that. So that's in the mostly downstairs over there. Also, we have an accent wall of turquoise. One of my absolute favorite colors of all time is turquoise. It can be blue turquoise or green turquoise. But it means refreshing. It is a feminine color. It's a calming color. It is sophisticated. It means wholeness. Represents emotional balance. It also means joy, patience, loyalty, spiritual grounding, and friendship. Wow, there's a bunch of good things there, isn't it? Friendship, Grounding, balance, joy is in turquoise. I love turquoise. I wear a wonderful turquoise ring. One of my favorite rings I've ever had is this turquoise ring. Being from Oklahoma and being around a lot of Native American culture, I was exposed to turquoise a lot as a young man and was very drawn to it, and still to this day find it a very calming, sophisticated, and emotional balance for me in that way. I went ahead and put the stone wall because I wanted to talk about that a little bit. That was what was given to me. I've always wanted stone somewhere. I've been attracted to stone ever since I was a kid. And again, being born in Oklahoma and kind of that Western culture idea, there was so much limestone. Houses were limestone or they were trimmed in limestone. But I just always felt good being around something that was made of stone in that way. And when I came here and looked at this wall behind us, that's what I saw was these stones. Back behind, and I'm looking at it, but you can't see it, there is, and I appreciate it, a wonderful member here gave me that as a gift, but it is Aaron's breastplate. And it's back on our memory wall of pictures of spiritual people that has, been a part of many of our lives, Dalai Lama, and Gandhi, and Martin Luther King, and all of them back there. And, oh, thank you, here it is. This is called Aaron's breastplate, and it is 12 stones that all represent each tribe of Israel. So all of Israel, all the 100,000s or whatever was the population, are all represented right here in this breastplate, which Aaron, the high priest, wore right here at his heart. In his heart. And every year, once a year, they went in for the atonement of the people. In other words, everything that people had done that was not in line with the law, they were forgiven. But they didn't have to do it individually. Aaron went in with the stones that represented them in the tribes and did it for them. So you have here the opal, garnet, ruby, sapphire, topaz, on and on it goes with all these stones representing these 12 tribes of Israel. So stones have always been a part of the building of structures and places for people to come to, and stone was a very important part of all of that. 1 Peter 2:5 says that you and I are lively stones. We are lively stones. Now, you think about all these individual stones, and they're individual, but they've come together as a community, representing a community of lively stones. And of course, we just talked about all this last Sunday in the message of the rock that I talked about, and how powerful this idea of building on the rock, on the stone, using the stones to build, and how powerful that it was. So our stone wall represents our community. And not just our community that's here in these four walls, but our community that is out there who's been joining us for the last months. A lot of you that I haven't seen in a few years have kind of rejoined and come back in with us. So we're going to say that these stones also represent you that are connecting to us and are somewhat like-minded as we are. In just a few minutes, I just want to say that most of what we're learning today about sound, vibration, frequency, color is not new. It's been known in ages past. And because it has been held in the mystery schools, and because it is held in these so-called secret societies that have been around, they have moved into their own agenda how to use sound, energy, vibration, and color. for their agenda. They know exactly how to create an environment to get you to react in ways they want you to react. And this is one of the cool things that are happening at this time, and has been going on for a while, under the misnomer of the name New Age, that like this stuff is just all brand new, never been around. But everything that I know it's being called New Age has been around with indigenous people for thousands of years, and even maybe beyond. So, for instance, red, because they know that it causes people to feel strength and courage and physical activity and warmth and all that kind of thing, has been used by Coca-Cola and has been used by other YouTube. The color red trends to encourage appetite, hence why brands like Coca-Cola use it often for their branding. They also use the words like happiness in their branding, so they use the color red to build excitement. So we're being kind of subtly manipulated all the time. When we go into a store, when we go into a building, that's all been thought out. The colors. In a restaurant, there's colors to try to make you eat fast and get out of there so that somebody else can take your place. Music is the same way. All these things have been used for such a long, long time. Let's take the color yellow. And I don't think we talked about yellow over there, did I? I forgot that. Yellow or gold is the second part of the interior walls over there. And gold is always meant to me deity, and has always meant the spiritual part of ourselves. And I could go into a lot about gold, but gold is a high color. Purple and gold are some of the highest colors for royalty. Jesus' robe was purple, and they cast lots for it because it was seamless. It was a very wealthy robe. It was not the robe of a poor carpenter, but it was the robe of a very empowered, intelligent craftsman that Jesus was. He was of the craft, and so on and so forth. So yellow always reminds us that we are human beings, but we're spiritual beings inside, and we're having this human experience. It always gives us the color of being positive. It gives us a feeling of being optimistic. And that's a good one. So what I'm just saying here is how the color has been used through corporations to manipulate and control the people, the sheeple, to turn different directions. Even packaging can do with color to give you a sense or a feeling towards something, to have a relationship with it. Now orange, I kind of have orange on today. This is really a coral. It's a little bit of red with the orange, and it symbolizes an individual's relationship with the external world, the needs and wants of the physical body, and the ways in which these are satisfied through the world of action. In healing, orange may increase immunity, sexual energy. In the aura, orange signifies thoughtfulness and creativity. I'm very drawn to orange, love orange. It's one of my favorite colors, and I think we got it back here on the stone also with us. So blue, we talked about the blue that's in this green, is a color of spirituality, intuition, inspiration, and inner peace. So we have a pretty good environment here, I think, as far as on the color scheme of things like that.
Blue in the restrooms.
Yeah, and there's just blue in the men's and women's bathrooms, which is always the purity of the heavenlies, the higher self. It always reminds us of that beyond the heart and to that higher atmosphere of expression and truth itself. Well, I know this has been different, but I promised I would do it, and I just kept putting it off and putting it off, so that you that have not been back, and I know you've seen pictures, but I want you to understand that nothing that has happened here has not happened without purpose and without guidance of some kind in that way. Very quickly, I'm going to end with a song, and if you'd like to stay around and hear the song, I think it's appropriate. And before I do that, I want to encourage you again to continue the support. August is always a more challenging month. I think people start doing things, getting ready for school, whatever that means, vacations, last minute stuff, and sometimes most all of us kind of suffer from the idea of being forgotten during August. So please continue to support this class. It's very important. You can do it through credit card, you can do it through PayPal, you can send it to 7300 Mallard Creek Road at help me out, Tim. 28262. I'll get that one these days. 28262. And we really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Also be with us on Sunday at 11:15, and we want to invite you to be there for that. So here's the song I wanted to end with. I just thought of this song, and I thought it'd be appropriate for this time. Have a beautiful and great day, and stay safe, and be aware from this morning's class of the environment, the clothes that you put on and what color you're wearing for that day. It can speak to you volumes about your path and the direction of your life that you are on, in that path that you're on.